This meeting is now called to order. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cons,
Here.
Mrs. Shandy,
Here.
Mrs. Yanez,
Here.
Mr. Salt,
Here.
Mr. Salt will be remote this evening, and Mr. Wilburn is excused from tonight's meeting and will not be attending. The Pledge of Allegiance is being led by one of our students. I will let Mrs. Yanez introduce him.
All right, Ethan, this is it. This is Ethan Price, a 7th grader at Challenger Middle School. So we're all going to stand with you and you get to lead the pledge for us, okay?
Tonight for our board spotlight, we have Legacy Peak Elementary School and Chinook Trail Middle School here. If you could all make sure you stay after both schools are done, we'd love to shake your hands, take photos, and hopefully, Miss Tina, do we have a little treat for them? Okay, so make sure you all stick around after both schools have presented. So we'll start with Legacy Peak, Mrs. Yanez.
All right. Legacy Peak Elementary School is the largest elementary school in the district when you include preschool. PBL, project-based learning, is a cornerstone of their philosophy, and they actively engage students in cross-curricular activities. They recently became a unified champion school through the Special Olympics. Please welcome Principal Laura Paris.
I'm always first. Okay. Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. Lean in. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you so much for having us tonight. We're very excited to get to showcase some ASL. ASL is one of our specials that we have at our school. We have a couple of students here that are excited to share some ASL with you. But before I bring them up, I just wanted to share a few things. The reason why we have ASL at our school, there's many benefits to having ASL. It increases our inclusivity that we have amongst our students. It encourages visual spatial awareness and critical thinking. Studies also suggest that ASL can enhance cognitive development, particularly in the areas of memory, multitasking, and communication. So we're really excited to get to have ASL as an offering at our school, and all kids pre-K through 5th grade get to experience ASL. So I would like to have my students and my ASL teacher come up. Where would you like them to stand or to go?
Yeah, right in front of.
Right here.
Right.
Okay, awesome. This is Mrs. B, and we're so lucky to have her as our ASL teacher this year. And she has organized some fun demonstrations to show for you. And F is for safety. This is
the sign for safety. You do 2 letter S's and then you put a Wonder Woman in front of your chest and you go out. Safety. So those are our signs for kids. Let's do them one more time. Ready? Kindness. And safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Legacy Peak. We're so glad you guys were here. Next, we have Chinook Trail Middle School, Mrs. Yanez again.
Well, Chinook Trail Middle School, sorry, I'm falling off my chair, is the newest middle school in District 20. And I happened to work there for 3 years. I had to add that in there. In their inaugural year, students used the design thinking framework to decide what furniture to buy for the library and the Curiosity Center. Students also designed the layout. Also, with the help of a graphic design firm, Neon Pig, students created and named the mascot, Ozzy the Owl. Chinook Trail Middle School students are growing and learning and hope to become ultimate learners. The school's competency-based approach includes 6 ultimate learner competencies: communicator, collaborator, innovator, researcher, and healthy and empowered learners. Please welcome Assistant Principal Sean Parsons.
Thanks for inviting us tonight. We are super proud of our CTE program, and I would like to introduce first 2 of our students and then a 3rd student and one of our teachers. So first to the mic will be Brady and Kaylee, and then Jaden, and then our teacher, Miss Michelle Holmes.
Good evening. My name is Brady Smith, and I'm an 8th grade student at Chinook Trail Middle School. I'm also a member of NJHS and Student Council, yet I've taken computer science with Miss Holmes every year. In 6th grade, we programmed microbits and mobile apps. In 7th grade, we coded video games. And in 8th grade, we're working on building robots and programming them. I've also taken a digital media class. I'd like to say that having the opportunity to take these classes has allowed me to grow as a learner. The projects are challenging, yet every day I come to school excited to get them working. Classes like computer science and digital media challenge me in a different way than other classes because I get to solve problems that I may encounter outside of school and in my future jobs. Thank you for your time.
My name is Kaylee Lackey, and I am an 8th grade student at Chinook Trail Middle School. I am also a tag student and a 4th-year band student. This year, I am taking robotics with Miss Holmes, and last year, I took industrial tech with Mr. Weber. Taking these kinds of classes in middle school is helping me grow in several ways, like engineering, problem solving, troubleshooting, and coding. These skills are very beneficial to me as I wish to become a software developer when I graduate. In general, these classes help to embrace my creativity and learn essential problem-solving skills in a way that no other classes can. Thank you for your time.
Hello, I am Jaden Hicks. I am an 8th grade student at Chinook Trail Middle School. I also play soccer for CTMS. I have taken classes with all 3 CTE teachers. Taking CTA classes helped me learn various skills I may use in my future. I have learned woodworking, and machinery, which are both very hands-on, coding and working with robotics, which is both fun and interesting, and creating animations and making movies, which can be very creative.
My name is Michelle Holmes. This is my 17th year as a public school teacher, my 6th in the realm of CTE, and my 3rd at Chinook Trail Middle School. I must tell you that I have the coolest job at the most innovative campus at Academy District 20. The students I have the privilege to teach are some of the brightest and most well-mannered students I've ever worked with. Along with Aaron Weber and Chris Ornelas, these are the other 2 CTE teachers that I work with. I am so proud to be on the board spotlight this evening. The video we are presenting was created by Aiden Bush, who has also taken all the CTE courses from all of us. Thank you very much.
What does digital media do for you?
Well, I think digital media is important for middle schoolers because it can teach them a lot of different things. And they may discover that they like something they didn't know they liked, or they were good at something they didn't know about. Maybe they're going to find out they're really good about at still photos, or maybe they're really good at editing video. You never know.
What's the coolest thing you can do in 6th, 7th, and 8th?
Well, the coolest thing we're doing in 8th grade, obviously, is putting out a weekly newscast. That's very cool, and we're having a lot of fun doing that. In 7th grade, the students are being really creative and making different video segments. So I had one group that made a little mini movie. It was really cool. And in 6th grade, the coolest thing we've done was probably when we first got out the cameras and we're taking still photos in the room with the lights in different places and things. And the kids got really creative with their photos.
What are you currently doing in 6th, 7th, and 8th?
Well, in 8th grade, every day we're just trying to put out the newscast. We have 2 8th grade classes, so each one takes a turn putting out the newscast. And it keeps us very, very busy in 8th grade. In 7th grade, the students are putting out video segments right now, just about all kinds of different things. Some of them are kind of duplicating the things we put in the newscast, but others are being very creative and coming up with ideas on their own. And in 6th grade right now, we have an interesting thing where the students are doing a stick figure animation that animates and demonstrates what they're learning in science class right now. So they're learning about scientific variables. And so they have to show their little animated guy conducting an experiment and using the different variables that they use in science experiments.
Why should you join industrial tech?
I think industrial tech is a great class for kids to learn how to safely use a lot of the different woodworking machines and also use those machines to complete some engineering challenges.
What are the coolest things that you can make in 6th, 7th, and 8th?
In 6th grade, they are making wooden games as well as a mousetrap car and aqua rocket. In 7th grade, they will make a CO2 car, a router plaque, and then in 8th grade, they'll make little twist pens on the lathe, also do a maglev vehicle, some bridge building and testing as well.
What are you guys currently making for 6th, 7th, and 8th?
Currently, 6th grade is just finishing up their safety test, and they're going to start off with an aqua rocket. And then 7th grade, they're just moving on to becoming inventors, where they're inventing something to help somebody else's life. And so then they'll 3D print those inventions. And then 8th grade is finishing up their maglev vehicles and starting to work on some twist pens on the lathe.
What does computer science do for students?
Computer science basically gives a chance for students to explore what they can do with computers. There's a lot of coding involved, but really we're applying the coding to different things such as drones or robots or microbits.
What are the coolest things you can do in 6th, 7th, and 8th?
In 6th grade, we do a lot of microbits and robotics and just kind of playing with different toys. One of my favorite activities right now is the coding the robot to go through the maze that we have mapped out on the floor with painter's tape. In 7th grade, we build video games, and the coolest thing is that when we get to the end of the class, the students have made 3 or 4 or 5 video games that they can actually play and send to their friends. And the coolest thing in 8th grade is actually right now my favorite thing. We're doing carnival rides, and then here right before Thanksgiving, we're actually going to do parade floats. So those are really my 2 favorite things.
What are you currently doing for 6th, 7th, and 8th?
In 8th grade, we're building carnival rides. All of the classes are designing a different carnival ride, and they're programming them to move and decorating them up. It looks really cool. I'm super excited. In 7th grade, they are going through the skills that they need to build their first game, which is going to be a basic collision game. So they have to move an object around to basically capture different objects, and it counts the points up. And in 8th grade, just like I said, or did I say that already? In 8th grade, we are doing the The carnival, oh, in sixth grade. In sixth grade, what we are doing is the students are programming Q robots to go through the maze that we have mapped out on the floor, but they're also developing a Robots Got Talent presentation where their robots get to show off the different things that they can do, such as change the face, change the colors, move the head, move the body. It's really a lot of fun.
Okay, so this is a Cam follower design. It uses conditional programming. So when the optical sensor senses an object, then the project stops. And when it doesn't sense an object, then the project runs. This one over here also uses conditional programming. This one is a bevel gear design. And when the line tracker senses something, it stops. And when it doesn't sense anything, it runs.
Thank you to everyone here from Legacy Peak and Chinook Middle, and especially to our teachers who are here. I know I've gotten a tour with some of you and seen your passion in the classroom, and just thrilled to see all of the things the students are experiencing and getting to learn. So if we're just going to probably take a 2 or 3 minute break. So if we want to get everyone from those two schools up here, and we'll take some pictures and get to visit with you guys.
Almost. You guys did such a great job. Great job, everybody. Good job. There we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Jack. Oh, those are great. Thank you so much. 1 second. I gotta get one thing with the iPhone. Sorry. I'll send you ours too.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Mrs. Matson-Bonet, are there any updates to the agenda?
There were no updates to the agenda.
Members of the board, are there any items you wish to move from the consent agenda? Okay. Are there any discussion items to be added to the agenda? No. May we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cons,
Aye.
Mrs. Shandy,
Aye.
Mrs. Yanez,
Aye.
Mr. Salt.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Tonight's board quote is presented by Mrs. Yanez.
Okay, well, my board quote is actually going to be presented by Mr. Ethan Price. His mom's going to come up with him to the microphone. I'm going to tell a little background story. So I had the pleasure of visiting Challenger Middle School 2 weeks ago today with Miss Superintendent Haber and got to visit Mrs. Victor's Option 3 Algebra 1 class. A student by the name of Ethan Price, a 7th grader, sat in front and raised his hand asking if there was any extra credit available. A kid after my own heart. After leaving the classroom, Mrs. Debbie Holt, principal at Challenger Middle School, told us a story about Ethan. Ethan wanted to be in that Option 3 class more than anything. But in order to do so, he actually had to finally appeal his case to Mrs. Holt. Ethan's mom, Julie, is here with him tonight. She's a 1995 grad of the Air Force Academy, and of her own admission, she said she expects a lot of her son because she knows exactly what he's capable of. Julie is also a single mom. Ethan's dad passed away when he was 10 months old. Although Julie totally supported Ethan's quest to be in this math class, she told him, "Buddy, the appeal's on you." So Ethan scheduled a meeting with his principal and created a PowerPoint. One of the slides of which you're seeing right now on the screen. So Ethan, here's the 4th slide of your 9-slide PowerPoint that you presented. While presenting this presenting this slide, you actually quoted your mom. So can you tell me what she always says that you shared during this presentation? And Ethan, most importantly, will you share with us what that means to you?
She says that you need to own your stuff. And to me, that means like owning your mistakes. If I got a question wrong on a math test or something, I need to own it myself and say, no, you got it wrong to the teacher. I need to own that myself and then fix it so that I won't make that same mistake again.
Ethan, you represent the perseverance and guts that we all want to have. Julie, with the loving support that you provide your son, sky's the limit for him. So Ethan, I know it took guts to walk into that principal's office and make that appeal, right? And those are life skills that you've already mastered. Some of us are still working to do that. Something tells me you won't lose that along the way, that I really can't wait to see what you do. So, but back to your quote. So my mom said I have to own my stuff. It also took humility to admit that you could do better and study harder and apply yourself more. And I would argue that's the real takeaway here, right? That when we know that we fall short, we can get back up and go back after it again. So thank you, Ethan, for being a living example of beautiful humility. And I can't wait to be at your graduation.
Thank you.
And Ethan and Julie, if you have a few minutes to stay until our next break after our superintendent comments, we'd love to visit with you. All right, I'm not sure if anyone wants to follow that up, but board, does anyone have anything to share for comments tonight? No, okay. I just want to say thanks to our staff and the staff of Challenger Learning Center for arranging our board retreat on, was that Tuesday? So we got to experience what a lot of our mostly middle schoolers get to experience at the Challenger Learning Center over off Wolf Ranch in the Wolf Ranch area. And it was awesome to be together. We were proud of ourselves for making it with 5 minutes to spare. And they do amazing things over there. So I'm just really grateful that all of our students get to do that as well.
It was really fun, and we managed to not leave anyone on Mars. So.
Okay. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for running the meeting. I apologize that I can't be there tonight, but everything should move forward as usual. You did a great job running the meeting last time, and I appreciate you being able to take the reins tonight. So thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Salt. Okay, superintendent comments from Superintendent Haber.
Yes, great happens here in D20, and I've had such an amazing last few weeks, and I'm excited to share them with you. I had a wonderful visit at Village Middle School, and one thing, I appreciate a lot of things about what goes on there, but when I went there, I really saw evidence that students were owning their own learning, and I feel that the principal and staff there really empower their students to take ownership of their learning and to set goals. Students were choosing to work on maybe Excel or some of their math subjects. They were also in different electives. And there was just this nice calmness over the whole school area, but the students were very much engaged, even though they were, you know, doing different types of tasks. So I just say kudos to Ash and her whole team and the amazing students there. And the student up in the upper left-hand corner, his name's John, and he used what's called stop animation. He built little pipe cleaner. I think that was like a dragon, and he would just take pictures of it while it was moving, and then you thread it together and it makes a movie. And it was cool. He showed me one of them, and I just thought that was really awesome. There on the bottom, you see an example during the same time while he's working on that. In another room was some small group instruction around math and students choosing and saying, you know, I really need more help on this. Can you help me with it? And a teacher there was doing such a good job of asking them questions and letting their questions really drive what she was reviewing with them. And then the top right-hand corner, they were making like food. I think this was like a banana split with chocolate and all these wonderful toppings. And I was ready to run out to Dairy Queen after I got done with that. But really just a lot of creativity going on. And I know that on the next slide, I saw this 2 visits ago and I was like, Ash, what is this? This looks amazing. And so she said she would be glad to come to our board meeting. So Ash and Giello and Jody Cameron, I think, is here with us as well. If you guys want to come to the podium or to our speakers there, just talk a little bit more about this technology. I know that at Village Middle School, they're really committed to the use of technology to support student learning. And I just thought this was a great invention and said, would you come share it with us? So thank you, Ash, for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Is this one I'm supposed to advance to my own slide, IT? Okay, great. Thanks. Just making sure. So first, Jody is an amazing member of our team, and science and math is her background. And so I've really appreciated her lens of how do we incorporate technology to really improve instructional practices and student outcomes. And I believe you all know that writing is a big instructional focus for us this year as a district. And that happens in math too. And we talked about, like, what's the hurdle for kids in math? You know, they think numbers. Some of them realize there's letters too. But when you say you're going to write more in math, that becomes like paralysis. They don't know what to do with that. And we looked at our CMAS data and found that explaining their thinking and reasoning was an area that we could really target for growth. And so Jody and I had been at a conference a couple of years ago. I think Disney was there. Is Disney in Florida? I think Disney is where we were. We didn't do that. We stayed at the conference the whole time. And we came back and we were like, we need to purchase these e-glasses. And so that's a picture of one. And in a lot of settings, teachers use that. And so these would be the students, and they have this e-glass in front of them and it's clear. And so they're writing on it. and it's projected to a whiteboard instead of the teacher having their back to the whole class writing on a whiteboard. Who knows what's happening back there? And so we decided, how else could we use this and really put this in the hands of kids and combine that with what we knew about our CMAS data. And so our math team, Ethan, I really appreciate your quote. We believe a lot in failing forward and taking risks and owning your stuff. So that really spoke to me. And so our math teachers were like, we want to try something. What if for some of the math assessments, kids can use the e-glass as their assessment option? And so this is an example of an Algebra 1 2-part test, and kids could choose, okay, I want to do this instead of a written, like, multiple choice, show my work. And they go into like the little closet that we call the recording studio, and they sit in front of the e-glass and they are given these problems, and they record themselves talking through as they're solving. So this next slide, this is kind of the end of one student's work, solving those two problems. And then on the right, what you can see is as the video is happening and they're doing their work, it creates a transcript of their spoken word. And we know that when we scaffold for kiddos, right, we're building the bridge of, hey, look, you can verbally explain your thinking and your reasoning. And then we're going to say, okay, now let's write it, let's type it. And so this is just a scaffold that we've provided to help kiddos see. You can think it and you can say it, which means you can write it. And this is a short, I do want to say the kiddo who did this one, I really appreciated the end of her video. She's like, all in all, Ben is broke. I don't think he should use his money to buy a phone case. Like he doesn't have enough money. So I thought that was really humorous. And then this is, this student chose to have themselves shown in the video because we give them the option. You can be in the video or not. It can just be your work. So if you guys want to play that, there's a squeak at the end of the marker, so I apologize in advance.
And to find x, first we subtract 14 from 14.32 from both sides. And 14.32 minus 20 is 5.68, and then at least, and then x is how much he needs. So he needs at least $5.68. So Ben needs $5.68 more to be able to afford a phone.
Oh, good. I snipped it so that it didn't have that squeak. I'm proud of myself. So this was just a snip of a kiddo. I think I'm most proud of the risk that our teachers took. We're like, let's try this. And then watching kids say, yeah, I'm willing to try an assessment in a different way. And ultimately the goal is, again, that they realize that if they can think it and they can say it, that they can write it, and that we see improvement in their ability to write out their reasoning and thinking in math. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's great. I think the one thing we can think about is how to expand on this later, and think about brainstorming sessions. And I really think maybe even student mindfulness, right? Reflecting on things and writing down those reflections and then be able to go back and look at it. So we're excited about how we can expand on this in other subject areas as well in our little recording studio.
Yeah. Thanks for letting us share.
Thank you so much, Ash. So I've been to lots of different schools since our last board meeting, and I just really appreciate Dr. Field and her whole PSSG team. They also go out to schools, and I put their visits on my calendar as well. So when I'm able to, I've been able to join Susan a couple of times at different schools, and it's been really great because when I go, I'm walking classrooms, and thank you, board members. I know all of you have been able to join me on some of those visits. And it's so great to see the amazing work that our teachers are doing in the classroom, to talk to the principal about what are we seeing. And I think that helps us to better understand the curriculum because you all approve the curriculum, and that gives you a chance to say, well, how is this working, in the classroom to help you guys make that connection. And really, we're just one systemic learning community. And with that, I'd also say, we have those 2 book studies coming up, The Anxious Generation and Focus. That's also a Mike Schmoker book. So if you have a chance to sign up for those, even if you can't make it all, please do that. We have over 300 people who have signed up for The Anxious Generation, which is all about, the use of technology and how can we use it in a responsible way in schools, and as well as support parents with that same responsible use at home. So I'm excited. And again, we just are so committed to that lifelong learning, such an important goal in D20. So there we're again at Challenger, and we definitely saw the emphasis on writing when we were there. And a real highlight was going out with the solar cookers. They had the graham cracker with the marshmallow and the chocolate. And it was really fun to see the kids talking about, how did the design of their box, how was that able to capture the heat from the sun, and why did you put cellophane over it, and all of that. So that was a really fun visit. I was over at High Plains and I wasn't able to take pictures of all of those schools, so I'm just highlighting a few of the schools and times when I was able to take some pictures. High Plains, definitely we see, it saw a lot of good examples of small group instruction and really giving students the skills that they need based on what they're seeing in their data. And this came from Director Yanez. Do you want to share about this photo?
So this was just yesterday. I got to go out to Chinook Trail Elementary for their fun run, which is their big fundraiser, PTA fundraiser. And these 3 gentlemen, that's Tim to the left. He was kind of in the background there, but that's Archer, Bronx, and Jackson. They were so innovative. They decided they wanted to be inspired by their own t-shirt. And so rather than have their tally marks for each lap that they did on the back of them where they couldn't see, they twisted their t-shirts around and had us put tally marks there on their bellies. But they were just running with everything they had and sweating, and we're really, really into it. This is a 3rd grade class. And I haven't found out how much money they raised for their school, but they used to do this at the elementary, and this year they borrowed the track at Chinook Trail Middle. Well, for each one of those laps, we got to mark 3 numbers. So in fairness to them, yeah, it was a great time. Thank you so much to the PTA for inviting me out there.
Thank you. I had a chance to go to the Air Academy High School homecoming game, was amazing. And this wonderful young lady, Liza Jones, I believe. Liza Clark. She's the student body president, and she was awesome. She escorted me. She had a special place for me to sit, which was awesome. And their marching band was fantastic. And the fireworks, I thought they were better than what I saw on the 4th of July. It was really amazing. Such a celebration. And when I go the second time I've been able to go to their homecoming, I want to get to other schools' homecoming. But there's just a real strong sense of connectedness within the student body at these games and when I'm at the school. And Rampart, we want to celebrate them. They recently went to Grand Junction for an open class show with 13 other bands, and they took a clean sweep of all of the awards and placements. So congrats to Mr. Asanias, Mr. Altman, and the whole Rampart High School Marching Band. First class and open class, they won first place in 4A, open first place in the High Visual Caption Award, High Music Caption, High General Effect Caption Award. Really amazing. So I know we'll have the marching band competition again at the Air Academy at their stadium. And I know last year was like freezing, but it was worth going, and I'm excited to go again, and maybe that's something we could all do together because it's definitely worth it. And our students are just outstanding. This is teacher. Congratulations to Matt Stewart, social studies teacher at Village High School. The mayor's office announced its finalists for the annual Mayor's Young Leader Award, and Mr. Stewart was nominated in the education category. And this is an outstanding program that recognizes achievements of young professionals 18 to 40 who are really making a positive impact in Colorado Springs. So congratulations to Matt Stewart. I had an amazing experience. This was just last night, at the Foothills STEAM celebration. There's so many parents and students there. We had to park, and I know Cole was there like 3 or 4 blocks away. It was packed, and I especially want to do a shout out to the STEAM teacher and coach, Jessica Taverdi. She's the one there on the bottom. She's amazing. She's been organizing this for 3 years. We had over 250 families that came that night. Every classroom was transformed into like a unique STEAM related activities. And her husband is a chemistry teacher at UCCS, and I get to go on their field trip when they go. And he had a whole chem lab there where students even had the goggles on, and they were doing chemical reactions with copper. There was DNA extraction from strawberries in another room. My favorite was there with the little cup. They were using liquid nitrogen to make ice cream, which was so awesome. So just encourage you guys to attend. And then that picture in the middle is pretty amazing. They were teaching students how to use music to direct like a laser. You go to those laser shows and you see them move to music, and they were showing the students how to do that. It was really amazing. So, and huge thank you to the administration at Principal Julie Cassiano and Assistant Principal Koi Schatzer. They were there just going all around and making sure that students and families were just having a great time. Can I go back? There we go. Super excited. We had our first business roundtable, and some of the folks that were there, Lauren Eckert from Children's Hospital, Glenn Hard, Careers in Construction Colorado. We do a lot with them, and they support our construction programs. Chloe Heft, who is the Vice Principal of Marketing Communications for the venue. Robin Lovewell, who's our Workforce Administrator, Office Tracy Marquez, who heads up the Pikes Peak Workforce Center, Samantha Parker, who supports Special Olympics, Deputy Chief Mary Rosenoff of the Colorado Springs Police Department, and she was telling us about the cadet program, which I would love to bring to our district. It's not already here, and really, she was really talked very highly about that program, and President and CEO of Air Academy Credit Union, Glenn Strebe, and Jariah Walker, who is our Colorado Springs Urban Renewal Authority. And what we did is we asked them their feedback. We showed them our portrait of a graduate. What's your feedback on those skills? And what's missing? What do you need from us as a school district for your workforce? What are those skills that you need? And something that we gathered from their feedback that was a common theme is they really have a desire, and I think we do too, that when our students graduate, that they're able to find jobs here in their own community if they choose to do that, and really making students aware of the opportunities that are right here in Colorado Springs. So that was just really amazing. I'm already looking forward to the next time. Another highlight is we had 4 students that attended, and there's one of our students in the lower left-hand corner. And they were Camila Del Duca and Mariana Guzar Palacio from Discovery Canyon High School, and Joshua Driesman and Jeshu Behill from Pine Creek High School. We asked them, what's the career pathway that you're in and how is it impacting your life? And every one of them said that by going into a career pathway at their high school, they really felt like they had a strong plan for success, and they knew what those next steps were when they graduated. And Joshua at Pine Creek said, it started for me back in elementary school. I started with robotics in elementary school and had a chance to do some coding and more robotics in middle school, and now he's in the engineering program. So we know that's one of the goals in D20 is to create that continuum of career exploration throughout elementary all the way through to high school. And I thought, man, I wish I would have just taped you, because what you said is exactly the vision that we have here in D20. Certainly, the Sukol Fieldhouse and Kepps Field ribbon cutting event was awesome, and a huge thank you to the Sukols for their donation and making this a reality. Principal Matt Mitchell just said they are using it all the time for all the various supports. There's a huge net at the end for baseball, And it's just amazing. Again, we are so fortunate in D20 to have a community like what I saw at Foothills and here that really supports their schools. And I'm just really thankful and grateful for our community. We're doing more work around Portrait of a Graduate, and a huge shout out to Dr. Pariseau. He has had 2 meetings now, and what we're doing is looking at the portrait and saying, what would our blueprint be? What would we want to have as a rubric for how we're going to start ingraining the Portrait of the Graduate into everything we do in D20? Starting at the high school, so all of these folks have been high school administrators. I think we had some parents there, a teacher, and how do we work together to create that at the high school level? What would that look like? And then we'll go to middle school and elementary so that we've got a continuum all the way through. Canyon City and Durango both have blueprints, and we had some examples out to say this is what it could look like in the end. It's not going. Do you want to click to the next one for me? There we go. So we, Deputy Becky Allen and I had a chance to go to CASE, and CASE was awesome. We really discussed various challenges that we have at the state level and gave CASE members some good feedback for next steps that we could do as an organization. I think a highlight for Becky and I was Mark Hatchell was there, Dr. Mark Hatchell, who was the former superintendent, and Rose Jones who's a coordinator from Capturing Kids' Hearts. We had a chance to go to dinner together. It was certainly helpful for me. I was really grateful to Dr. Hatchell just for filling me in on more history and his experience as a superintendent in D20. I just really respect the legacy that he's left here in D20, and his was his birthday. So we had a chance to celebrate that with him as well. I had an opportunity the next week, ironically, to go to an all-expense paid trip to AASA, which is the School Superintendents Association. It's a national association. They invited me to attend this conference where I had a chance to meet with other superintendents who've been in the seat for a while as well, just to talk about what are some of the challenges that we're seeing across the nation. Certainly behavioral challenges at early ages like kindergarten, first and second grade was definitely a theme, and we got to kind of share different ways that we were providing supports. Funding, state funding was and funding for special education were also some other topics that came up. And then we had a chance to see what are some of the products and processes that are out there right now that are designed to help us with some of those challenges. Of course, that was right as the Hurricane Helene was coming in, and there were superintendents from Georgia and Florida, and some of them had to leave a little bit early. But so we also talked about safety and security and what are some of the challenges around that. So it was awesome, very beneficial for me to be with colleagues from across the country. Then I joined nearly 200 leaders from our business, nonprofit, faith, and civic circles at the Cause I Love You's annual leadership gathering. They do this every year. And Mayor Yemi was there and really was talking about how the city is addressing affordable housing, because that was the topic. And then we had a panel also that was talking about affordable housing in our city. So I thought that was really helpful, and I was able to meet the sheriff of El Paso County because I've been wanting to meet him, and I want to do a follow-up there. And it was just good to also meet some of the other leaders in Colorado Springs. Here we are at the Challenger Learning Center with our vests. So it really was a great time. Again, a huge shout out to Ron Bush and the whole team there. We were supporting a mission of establishment of a space station on the moon in order to explore Mars. I was the science person and got to do all these little tests to see if there was any water that was found in the rocks, etc. So it was a good team building experience. So I just really appreciate all of you guys taking time out of your busy schedules to come together around that. I can't wait to see the patch. I had to leave early, but I want to see the 3-dimensional patch that they're making to see what we come up with. ASD, thanks again, Dr. Pariso and his team. We had another successful college fair at Chinook Trail Middle School last week. We had 671 students and parents show up for that. Again, that college and career awareness is a top priority for us. Colorado Proud Meal Day. I think these are the cutest pictures. I love that student already has his Christmas sweater on. But this is really a time to celebrate our local farmers and local produce folks and beef ranches that provide beef for us. And the baby carrots came from Greeley. Lettuce comes from a farm in Brighton. Tortilla chips are made in Denver, and the plums were grown in Palisade. So it's kind of definitely trying to have more fresh fruit and vegetables that come from Colorado in our cafeteria. And then this is Mayor Yemi, recognized Principal Stephen Scott. He was recognized by the Colorado Springs Police School Resource Officers and the mayor for his continued dedication to his staff and students. And I will let Mayor Yemi talk about that if you want to hit the video.
Canyon Elementary students, staff, and families. It's your Mayor Yemi here to congratulate your incredible principal, Stephen Scott. I am proud of you all for not only seeing greatness, but for also making a big deal about it. And I'm proud to hear that Mr. Scott is being recognized for his hard work, dedication, and responsiveness. I have heard how his concern for one of his staff members led to a life-saving intervention. Amazing. Mr. Scott, your love for your staff and students is inspiring and worth celebrating. You are helping to improve this community with your daily work and your dedication. So keep going. Friends, together, we are Colorado Springs. Onward and upward.
So again, huge shout out to Principal Stephen Scott of Discovery Canyon Elementary School. And he also got the Thor Hammer Award, which I think is a really big deal at Discovery Canyon. Mr. Scott and Officer Lee is the one who gave that Thor Hammer. So to Principal Stephen Scott. So huge shout out to him for intervening and really with a life-saving intervention for our staff members. As you know, the Purple Stars legislation went through. Its designation allows a school to officially be recommended as a good school for military families. KRDO News is working on a story right now about the Purple Star program, and Air Academy High School hosted the interviews with the Department of Defense and the U.S. Air Force who helped pass this state law. And of course, Principal Dan Olson is also going to be featured in this report. So we're excited, and we're hoping Air Academy High School becomes one of the first schools to receive that award. And I'll end with, we had Stakeholder Week, and I am just so thankful again that our community shows up. They want to be a part of these stakeholder meetings. We said that we wanted to add 20 more parents to the parent sounding board, and we had over 100 parents want to be a part of that. That's huge. I am so grateful that we have parents that really want to be involved. So we had to do a randomizer, to be able to just pick 20 just because of the seating constraints within the atrium. But we want to figure out how we can continue to bring more stakeholders in. And a huge thank you to Deputy Allen, Becky Allen. You did an amazing job, as always, Becky, with your budget process. And really, the budget can be pretty complicated, but Becky does such an amazing job of explaining it where people can really understand. And then a huge shout out to Pete Risting, too. He did a great overview of safety and security here in D20. We had a lot of questions and answers, and I think one of my favorite groups was a student group. They just really asked good questions, and when we gave them, Ms. Allen gave them a sheet where they had to figure out the budget under all these different constraints. And some of the solutions, like, yes, can I tape you to hear you say that again? Because they're so, student voice is so important. And then we have amazing students, had some great solutions that actually caused Becky and I to think, yeah, that is a good suggestion. We should really think about that. So it's just such a privilege to be here as your superintendent, and I'm just so thankful for our community as well. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you so much. We need a motion to approve the consent agenda as posted.
Moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cons,
Aye.
Mrs. Shandy,
Aye.
Mrs. Yanez,
Aye.
Mr. Salt,
Aye.
Mrs. Matson-Bonet, can you tell us how many people are viewing the live stream?
we have 6.
Thank you so much. So let's take just another 2 or 3 minute break real quick so we can grab some photos with Ethan and Ash and Jody. Is that it? Superintendent Haber?
I think so.
Okay, thank you so much.
That was awesome, Lauren. That was awesome. Having Chase here. That's so fun.
Okay, thanks everyone for your patience. Tonight, there are no items that have been pulled from the consent agenda. And then we're on to our written reports. So the first one is the annual monitoring report for Executive Limitations Policy 2.3, treatment of staff. So we've all reviewed that policy. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
Mr. President,
Mrs. Shandy?
I had a question on EL 2.3.1. You just go ahead and ask it, or you're gonna, are we all up to speed on House Bill 24-1071, which allows convicted felons to change their names to match their gender identity. We just want to make sure that we have all of our policies, there's no gaps, because what that does is allow them to get a clean background. So I just wanted to make sure that all of our policies in identifying volunteers and things like that, access to direct students are closed.
Yes, Mr. Cameron Smart.
You can call me
I almost
Dr.
called
Phil,
you a
I'm sure.
doctor
I'll
again. You
take it.
just have that look.
I need to put it on my sign over here. Yeah, so first of all, when you do a background check, especially when we do fingerprints, we use social security number and the fingerprint. So although you may change your name, when you get the report back, it's going to have any other names you used, any aliases you used that would connect you to that. So if there was anything on a report, it would still be attached to that individual. So we wouldn't let anybody kind of slip through. And because we're going to match their application for things with that report, we're going to have a match and show that we got both things before we move somebody forward.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
Does anybody else have any questions? All right, we are going to do the MRE for this, our evaluation. Is the superintendent's interpretation of the policy reasonable? Is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Are all sections in compliance? Any recognition of exemplary performance or concerns regarding performance? And would you like to see additional or different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed in the next monitoring report cycle? Okay. And do you see any evidence which is extraneous or no longer necessary? No? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Bless you. Our next written report is the monthly financial report through August 2024. Does anyone have, excuse me, any comments or questions about that? Okay, wonderful. So we will move on to our presentation tonight. Okay, tonight we're looking at the 2024 CASB Delegate Assembly and Legislative Resolution discussion. Mrs. Shandy.
Yes, so they changed their platform a little bit this year, so I just want to kind of give you a brief overview of what they changed exactly and why that probably was why there were only 6 resolutions submitted when in the years past there's been like 30 some or something. So to improve CASB advocacy and become more of a leader of conversations about legislations as opposed to reactionary, they spent the last year developing a new proposed legislative timeline and associated action items to align with and better advocate for CASB with the Colorado General Assembly. This new platform is being rolled out next weekend at the fall conference and provides a nice clean one-pager of priorities and platforms. The priorities consist of specific short-term goals with legislative solutions, and the platform provides CASB opinions and viewpoints about their focus topics. CASB further divided their platform into 4 specific planks: finance, student and staff success, local governance, and charter schools and other non-traditional multi-district public school options. So those are their 4 areas of focus. Only 6 new resolutions, like I mentioned, were submitted because of the new platform, a couple of which were very specific to situations or districts, and in my opinion, not very worthy of state level legislation. So do either of you have questions about any of the resolutions submitted?
Can you read those 4 categories again?
Yeah, finance, student and staff success, local governance, and charter schools and other non-traditional multi-district public school options.
All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you so much, Mrs. Shandy. We are on to our public comments section number 1. Mr. Belcher, how many people have signed up to speak during this section 1?
2.
Thank you. So the board welcomes the comments of our community members. We greatly value all comments from the public, but in order to adhere to board policy and accomplish the work already on the agenda, the board and superintendent will not respond at the meeting. Speakers may offer appreciation for or criticism of school operations and programs as concern them, but are encouraged to exercise their speech rights responsibly, as they are personally responsible for any legal consequences attributable to their comments, including claims for defamation. Please keep in mind that students often attend board meetings. Speakers' remarks, therefore, should be suitable for an audience that includes kindergarten through 12th grade students, including no use of profanities or obscenities. Comments concerning personnel matters should be directed to the superintendent or board president in writing with your signature. Supplemental written materials can be given to the security guards, and they will be delivered to the board secretary. The board president will recognize each speaker, and consistent with GP 4.04, comments will be curtailed if remarks or behavior becomes inappropriate. The board president may interrupt, warn, or terminate a speaker's statement that is unrelated to the business of the school district, inappropriate for K through 12 students, or disruptive to an orderly, civil, and productive meeting. And just to remind folks that haven't been here in a while or are new that we don't have any auditory, verbal reactions after public comment. So if you have any cheers, please feel free to use our ASL. Okay, so Mr. Belcher.
Okay, first up is Katie Chukis, followed by Megan Gateke.
Well, that was on the agenda. Is it pertaining to? Any agenda item is appropriate.
You're okay.
So you're good. Thank you.
So I wasn't prepared. Anyway, my name is Catherine Chukis. I live in the district. I'm an Air Academy parent. I'm their SAC chair. My West Side Animal Update is about turkeys. We are being inundated by turkeys in my valley. But really about the CASB agenda item, I don't really think there's any reason to change or edit or make any additional resolutions on behalf of this district. We have enough things to work on inside our district before leading on any advocacy outside of our district. And the one thing that we really need to work out, and I hope I can see something in public, is when any of the board members get to use your title in any sort of endorsement and advocacy. To me, it seems that some of you do this inappropriately, and we as the public need to hear what the consequences are for making this mistake. For example, Mr. Salt is in an advertising video identifying himself as president of our school board, speaking about a ballot initiative that has nothing to do with District 20 and its students. Why does he get to do this? When will you tell him that he made a mistake in this identification of himself? To me, in that statement, it seems like Mr. Salt wants to control the behavior of adults or parents. Why is he commenting on the rights of 27 or 47 or 67-year-olds to shop where they want? Instead, it would be better to publicly for board members to make an advertisement about a 67-year-old school that is on the ballot. Speak about District 20's ballot initiatives. I would really appreciate it. And on another note to Mr. Salt, my neighbors have asked me publicly to say, save the Rock Rimmon Library. Thank you.
Next up is Megan Gateke.
Let me see. Okay. Hi, I'm Megan Gateke, mom of 3 in D20. I was reading over the CASB booklet provided, and I wanted to wholeheartedly support the document as it is laid out. And I hope any members from our board can work with this group to get much needed funding and changes here in D20 and across our state. For those who didn't have time to read the booklet, they went over that Colorado's 43rd in spending on education, and Colorado is $2,000 to $3,000 behind on per pupil spending against the national average. Colorado is 50th in teacher wage competitiveness. All of this despite Colorado being one of the strongest economies in the U.S. year after year. IDEA is still not even halfway funded from Congress from what was planned over 50 years ago. They're supposed to fund 40%, and instead they're only funding 12%. I've seen a lot of parents in different groups having a really difficult time getting what they need for their SPED students. So I'd really like to see more advocacy from our district up in Denver to get more funding down here. CASB also wants to advocate for more mental health resources for our kids and make sure there's more focus on equity and inclusion to ensure all students meet their potential regardless of their background or their current geography. They laid out ideas to fix our infrastructure. Obviously, with the release of the deferred maintenance list, this should be something our board members should be working closely with CASB on to make sure we can get more money down here to ensure our students have safe buildings with lots of opportunities. As a parent, it's simply horrible to see folks having fun run to fix their bathrooms in D20. We need more money. Okay. And the purpose of CASB is to lead and advocate for our schools. I'd like to see members from D20 work as a collective voice to make our district better. It will take a collective push to fully fund our schools, pay our teachers a competitive and fair wage, and to get much needed resources.
Thank you. Thank you both for your comments. Right now, we're moving on to decision items. We need a motion to approve Resolution 288-24, approval of school accreditation status.
Moved.
Second.
Discussion, please. Superintendent Haberer.
We fully recommend you approving the accreditation status.
Dr.
Sorry,
Field.
Dr.
it's
Field,
okay.
go ahead.
Okay, so good evening and thank you for the opportunity to share information about the accreditation process and this year's performance rating for each of our schools. In the state of Colorado, school districts are accredited by the state based upon their prior year's performance indicators, which include academic achievement, academic growth, and for high schools only, post-secondary and workforce readiness. The 2024 District Performance Framework designated Academy District 20 as accredited with distinction for the 16th straight year. For schools, the possible plan designations from highest to lowest are performance, improvement, priority improvement, and turnaround. Out of our 39 schools here in Academy District 20 that received a rating, 37 of the schools received the performance rating, which is the highest rating. High Plains received the improvement rating, and Village Middle School has insufficient data in their subgroup populations. It just wasn't enough data, which means they retained the performance rating from 2 years ago until they would get enough data again. With respect to accrediting schools, local school boards are given the authority to determine the accreditation status of their respective schools. In Academy District 20, schools are accredited based upon the verification of absolutes, which is our legal and policy requirements, creating and updating school site plans, and school performance as outlined by the school performance frameworks. The absolutes were completed by all schools in May of 2024 and signed by each principal and a school accountability member. School site plans were reviewed last November by the DAC and are reviewed annually. This year, it'll be November 19th, so it's coming up right around the corner. Schools have recently updated their unified improvement plans and will be submitted to the Colorado Department of Education on October 15th. This year, all of our schools, our 39 schools, 26 wrote new unified improvement plans. Therefore, I'm pleased to share that all 39 schools are accredited. Do you all have questions for me?
Just a huge congratulations to you and all of our D20 staff for making this happen. Yet again, we're so proud of everybody.
Yep, me too. Thanks.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cons,
Aye.
Mrs. Shandy,
Aye.
Mrs. Yanez,
Aye.
Mr. Salt,
He may have had to go. Okay. Moving on, we need a motion to approve Resolution 289-24, approval of language revision to Governance Process Policy 4.4 board meetings.
Moved.
Second.
Before I give a little intro, does anyone have questions or comments from the board? Okay, this is just a very small clarification. Would someone mind just bringing up the red line? Makes it easy to see on that first page, maybe scroll down a little bit. There we go. Thank you. So rightly so, it's been confusing for some members of the public whether they could sign up in the public comment section 1 and 2. So this is just to clarify that it's one time per night, whether you're speaking about the agenda or other comments. We've always given some grace that if you have both topics, as long as the majority of it is about an agenda item, you can sign up in public section number 1. But this is just to clarify that it's 1 2-minute segment per speaker per board meeting. Anything else, board? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Cons,
Aye.
Mrs. Shandy,
Aye.
Mrs. Yanez,
Aye.
Mr. Salt,
Okay, thank you. We are now on to the public comment section number 2. Mr. Belcher, how many people have signed up to speak during this public comment section 2?
8.
8, wonderful. So the board president will recognize each speaker and consistent with GP 4.04. Comments will be curtailed if remarks or behavior becomes inappropriate. The board president may interrupt, warn, or terminate a speaker's statement that is unrelated to the business of the school district, inappropriate for K through 12 students, or disruptive to an orderly, civil, and productive meeting. Thank you all for your cooperation.
First up, Christy Davis, followed by Larry Roa.
Is it, hello? There we go. Okay. Good evening. My name is Christy Davis, and I am the chapter chair of Moms for Liberty in El Paso County. It has come to my attention that a recent mandated non-legal name change policy appeared in D20 this month without any notification or discussion to the parents, community, and quite possibly most of this board. House Bill 24-1039 non-legal name change bill passed into law mandating districts to create a policy. The wording "without informing parents" was stripped from the bill before it was signed into law. School districts have full autonomy to create a policy that works best for your families, and we are advocating for you to do so with full parental consent. You were elected to be the voice of parents and community members over government overreach. We parents have a fundamental right to direct the upbringing, care, and education of our children, and we deserve the respect to be involved in the crucial decisions of what adults and others are referring to our children as in our absence. If a student wants to be called something vulgar or inappropriate, the district would not allow this. The district can set ground rules for non-legal name change, and one of those must be full parental consent. What are you going to do when you inform a parent that their child wishes to go by another name and the parent objects? Colorado is a choice state. Parents will pull their children. The school should in no way feel they have more control over a student than a parent. Also, have you considered an opt-out for staff and students from compelled speech? There is already a case in Brighton, Colorado, where a parent is suing the district and citing House Bill 24-1039. Taxpayers, take note, because this is a potential lawsuit that you will be funding because your elected officials who took an oath to uphold the Constitution dropped the ball. I urge you to make the changes needed to policy ACA to protect parental rights and add opt-out protections against compelled speech for your students and staff. Take back control of your administrative policies so crucial policies such as ACA aren't passed behind closed doors again. Thank you.
Next up is Larry Roa, followed by Richard Brown.
Bill of Rights, Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Our country was founded on Judeo-Christian values. It's not a bad thing. So if you want to have a prayer in this meeting, I don't have a problem with it. If somebody wants to say a prayer for the board, I don't have a problem with it. Now, the one thing I was going to address that we had last week, it's already been addressed that we're not allowed to applaud anymore. Do have to ask a really silly question, or jazz hands, shoulder height allowed? Be okay? Doesn't disrupt the meeting, still shows favor. Now, since I couldn't talk of what I originally going to, one thing I would ask, we have boards in here. This one here is inoperative. We've got a board back here that has someone doing sign language that's 2 boards back or 2 rows back from the people in the front. So the front 2 rows up here cannot see it. The board that's over here is 90 degrees. And then for us old people, cranking your head that far each time will drive you nuts. Can some thought be used to redo these? This one's inoperative. He just tried to fix it. Hopefully they can. But, you know, try to go up there. I don't know how you can rearrange, but that board has no value hardly. My vision is corrected to 2015 in this eye and 2020 in this eye, but there's no way without a spotting scope or binoculars I can read those 2 front boards. So if you guys could do something for that, I would really appreciate it, especially for us old people. The hearing part, we can figure it out on our own. Okay, well, thank you much.
Next up is Richard Brown, followed by Vanessa Ransom.
Thank you all for the opportunity to speak before you today. I first want to start by saying thank you for taking these positions on and caring about our children. Sorry, something popped up. I know the job is not easy, and I pray that you can all work together for the absolute betterment of our children in conjunction with reality. So I wanted to speak to you tonight about the policy and common sense. A particular policy I'm referring to is the HR 24 that she was talking about. It's my understanding that if a student were to come to a teacher and let them know they felt like they were part of the opposite gender, or if they preferred to go by a different name, teachers in the school are not required to let parents know. As absurd as that is, I cannot quite understand why. So I'd like to ask, what is the role of a parent? Aside from providing care and nourishment, as well as basic necessities, what does the Department of Education, schools, and teachers think a parent's job is? Aside from the things mentioned, our job as parents are to teach our kids how to contend with reality. Because with children, there is a principle of limited understanding. Because they are children, they haven't gone through all life experiences to understand the consequences of their actions. That is the role of the parent in order to teach them the lesson and principles in order to contend with reality in an effective way and to grow in an adult and to find meaning for their lives. So parents trust professionals, but that trust is rapidly diminishing. You know, it was professionals who told Tim Tebow's mom should have an abortion because the baby would die and she would too. We see how that turned out. It was professionals who told parents if your kids don't have these surgeries or change their gender, they'd kill themselves. Now we have professionals telling our parents they know what's better for our kids better than us. If a student came into the classroom and said, I feel fat, so I'm bulimic, would the teacher affirm that child's feelings? If a student came in and said, I feel worthless, I'm going to commit suicide, would the teacher affirm it? Absolutely not. So why then are these obvious signs, or when these are obvious signs of problems of mental health or irrational reasoning, are we allowing our children's minds to be polluted with this nonsense? No matter how it's presented, it's obvious that these policies are more harmful than helpful, and it's time this board worked together to bring back common sense to the classrooms. I'd like to end with John 8:32, then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free.
Next up is Vanessa Ransom, followed by Brett Dayberry.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I'm a parent of a child who was sexually assaulted by a student in your school. This student sexually assaulted my child while I was at work. On August 20th, my child saw the student at the school. It emotionally triggered my child, and my child decided to tell the school counselor. After that, the school contacted the police, and Officer Mars contacted me. I contacted the school but received no information until I arrived at the school in person. I'm disappointed on how the school handled it. From Officer Mars saying boys will be boys, and the school allowed the student to enroll despite the ongoing investigation. Let's make a change and handle sexually assault and situations. The school needs to follow Title IX, which protects all students. All victims should not be retaliated against by having a schedule that caters to a criminal.
Next up is Brett Dayberry, followed by Leah McFadden.
One of these meetings, I look forward to coming up here and talking about the positive changes made in the district. Tonight's not that meeting. After the horrendous non-legal name change legislation was put into law, individual school districts were given the ability to set their own parameters. It's my understanding that D20 administration, not the board, but our administration, put a policy in place that does not require parental notification at the onset of a student experiencing gender dysphoria. It's also my understanding that the administration put this policy in place without all members of the board being notified. I've heard of what other local school districts are doing regarding this issue. I've heard of no other district in which this policy has been put in place by the administrators instead of the school board. Why would the administration do this? The answer is simple, because they believe they can, period. They've been pushing around this school board and other issues, so they figured they could do it in this circumstance as well. They also knew that there would be not be popular among the stakeholders of the district. I'm extremely tired of the stuff that goes on in this district. The administration continues to change the goalpost on policies, and now they're writing their own, and the board is allowing it. The board hasn't simply manned up. Basically, nothing has been done regarding boys and girls bathrooms. The same DEI verbiage is still on the website from 2021. Multiple pornographic books have been allowed to stay in the libraries. And now we have to fight for verbiage on the non-legal name change policy to include parental notification. When is this D20 board going to stand up for the kids on real issues?
Next up is Leah McFadden, followed by Bernadette Guthrie.
Hi, my name is Leah McFadden. I am an employee in the district. Good evening, members of the board. I'm here tonight to address a growing concern among staff regarding the lack of commitment and action from this leadership team. Since this new board was seated, 75% of the scheduled board meetings and work sessions have been canceled. This is not only disheartening, but has a tangible impact on the functioning of our schools. Staff and students are feeling the trickle-down effects of this inaction every day. One area of particular concern is hiring. I've heard from multiple sources that our HR department is currently 3 months behind on hiring for critical paraprofessional positions. How can we expect to attract and retain quality candidates when we are taking this long to process applications and make hiring decisions? And to make matters worse, due to the cancellation of board meetings, even if someone accepts a position tomorrow, they would need to wait another month for confirmation before they could begin. This is unacceptable. If this board is serious about retaining and supporting staff, addressing these issues would be a critical place to start. Show us that you take this role seriously by holding your meetings, addressing critical issues, and supporting your staff as promised. Please do the work you were elected to do and help us create a functional and supportive environment for our students and our staff alike. Thank you.
Next up is Bernadette Guthrie, followed by Emily Vaughn.
As you all know, I have deep concerns about the district's lack of transparency regarding the $83 million bond currently on the ballot. Despite numerous requests, the district only released its deferred maintenance list after I advised of my intent to pursue legal action. This list includes critically federally mandated ADA repairs, fire safety updates, and essential improvements related to the health and safety of our students. Approving a bond for new projects while ignoring $500 million in existing repairs is not only irresponsible, but unethical. The publishing of this list today on the D20 website and the associated commentary actually made me chuckle. In the past, those lists were front and center online, fully transparent to taxpayers. Previous employees will verify that Becky and Ginger suppressed that $500 million deferred maintenance number during the 2023 MLO campaign, which is fraud. Moreover, this board approved the bond without questioning its terms, which are nearly 2 percentage points above the current market rate. This shows a clear disregard for fiscal responsibility and accountability to the taxpayers you represent. I'm here to put on the record that this leadership team's actions demonstrate incompetence. If this bond fails, as I anticipate it will, our schools and students will feel the consequences for years to come. Buck has some papers for you. A very kind and smart parent was able to take the deferred maintenance list and compare it against the bond project list that's on the website. It's color coded, very visual if you're a visual learner. Nobody can look at that list and say this was a good decision. It's embarrassing, and nobody asked the questions. There were 5 months, no meetings. It was not discussed during a work session. It's really sad. So thank you.
Emily, you're up.
So I just want to make sure Emily Vaughn's not here, right? Okay. Thank you all for your comments. We are moving on to the end of our meeting. We want to say a big happy birthday to Mr. or Dr. Cameron Smart on October 29th. Happy birthday, Cameron. Superintendent Haber, do you have any clarifications or next steps, particularly?
Nope, I do not.
Do we want to address? Okay. Anything? Thank you. Board? Good. Was our business this evening focused on activities that promote and honor our mission statement, our belief statements, and our global end statement that remind us that all students will have knowledge, skills, and character necessary for successful transition to the next level, and upon graduation will be fully prepared for success? Did the board hear any information tonight that would require the review or revision of a policy? Mrs. Shandy?
We're still working on procedures for ACA policy, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Did the board hear information tonight that would require a new policy? Okay. Did the board hear information tonight that the board would like to include on a future agenda? Mrs. Shandy?
I would like to, in the future, see the policies and procedures so we can go over the ACA policy and make sure that we're all good with it.
Thank you for noting that. I'm checking my notes here to make sure I don't have anything related to that question. Okay. Wonderful. Mrs. Matson-Bonet, how many people are viewing the live stream now?
We still have 6.
Okay, excellent. And there's no executive session tonight, so this meeting is adjourned.